and moderator Setulu, and I'm joined by my co-moderator Imtirenla, who will be available on chat for any information or assistance you require during the session. This week, we will be listening to an amazing panel of speakers. We have scheduled a list of very powerful and very knowledgeable topics in line for this week. We will be listening to 4 individual speakers, and at the end of the summit, that is on the 7th, we'll be listening to a panel discussion. So I request everyone who has joined now to stick with us till the end of the summit, as we do not want you to miss out on any of these powerful topics. So please do stay with us till the end of the summit. I see that some people are still joining now. So as we wait for more people to join in, I'll just cover up with the introductions so that nobody misses on the amazing presentation that our speaker has for today. To start off, allow me to introduce our hosting organization, that is GSDC. So GSDC is a vendor agnostic international credentialing and certification organization that has had over 90,000 plus professionals worldwide find credibility in the top emerging and skill-based certifications. We have over 70 plus certification portfolios, which are recognized by our leading MNC organizations. GSDC is also proud to be accredited by ANSI and ABICB, and we have tied up with over 100 plus global universities for scholarship certifications. Our offices are also located in Switzerland, Singapore, and USA. We have also partnered with over 50 plus training organizations that come from all over the globe. These organizations add value to the training programs which are accredited by GSDC, and we are so honored to be a part of their team as well. Welcome to all our partners who have joined us for this session today. If you'd like to learn more about GSDC, if you'd like to connect with us, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can also check our website. The links are shared on the chat box. So you will find more about our services on our LinkedIn. We post every day. So if you'd like, you can connect with us there. Here, I would love to give a virtual applause and appreciation to Indian Quality Association, who we partnered up with for this event. So they are from India, and it has been an honor to work alongside this team. A little about IQA. The IQA team, they have a vision to be the prime mover for enhancing and sustaining value realization in quality management and business excellence through identification and harnessing the right and relevant methods, global best practices and technologies across domain, geographies, and businesses. So they aim to enable organizations to achieve excellence in business and operations, and to provide a platform for the quality management and business excellence professionals. Very big appreciation to the team for collaborating with us. The experience has been amazing. Also, a quick appreciation to our official media partner, that is WordPress Hub. They have always been with us for all the events, for all the official press release. So thank you so much again for partnering with us, as always. Here, I'd like to introduce about the GSDC certifications that we have. Today, we will be exploring further on Lean Six Sigma for today's topic. At GSDC, we provide Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, Yellow Belt, and Black Belt certifications. If you are interested, you can have a look at the portfolios. The certifications from GSDC holds lifetime validity and is also globally recognized. These are governed by vendor agnostic authoritative body, and the courses are curated and designed by our subject matter experts and thought leaders who come from Yale, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Wharton, and such. We are so honored to be recognized by these esteemed leaders, subject matter experts, and leaders in these programs. Coming to the features about GSDC. We have a unique feature about the GSDC certifications where we provide a lifelong membership to anyone who are GSDC certified. You will get the opportunity to attend all these events that we are organizing. You will get to be invited as a speaker for any to broaden your knowledge, to broaden your expertise in it. So that is also one of the points that we have for a lifelong membership. We also provide complimentary upgrade to any of the certifications that GSDC has. We know that all the modules, all the certificate, all the courses, they keep on developing. So if any new modules turn up, then we provide a complimentary upgrade to any of the members if you hold any of the GSDC certificates. Moving ahead, I'd like to give an appreciation to our volunteer mentors who came forward, who kindly came forward and accepted our invitation to be a part of the volunteer mentor program and spread about this summit, sharing it to their network. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. I may have missed out some mentors here. I'm sorry about that, but to everyone who has shared about it, thank you so much. Also, an information that if you'd like to be a part of this volunteer mentor program, then do reach out to us. You can reach out to our colleague Matt. So we'll leave Matt's email on the chat box, so you can have a look there. If you want to be a part of it, you can just send a quick email to him, and we'll be so happy to have you as a part of the program. A quick information before we head to the speaker. We will have a quiz which will be a part of the IQA teams association. You will have a minute to choose your answers, and don't worry, we will give you ample time to think about the answer. You will also get a chance to win a $400 worth GSDC certification. So I request everyone to do participate in the quiz. You will get to learn more about the topics that we have through the quiz as well. So I do request everyone to stick with us till the end and participate in this quiz and grab a chance to win this free certification, which is complimentary, totally free for the winner. So yeah, we'll talk more about this after the presentation. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our amazing speaker for today. We have Carlos Conejo. He is an accomplished Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and CEO of Lean Six Sigma Specialist, a global consultancy. Carlos has achieved critical success for almost 30 years in the areas of accelerating workplace culture and transformation using Lean Six Sigma and other methodologies. Just before I give our speaker the time, housekeeping for our participants that we will have a Q&A session, 15-minute Q&A session with our speaker. So we will take the questions on chat box. So feel free to save your questions. And once the Q&A begins, we can start sending the questions on the chat box for our speaker. So yes, Carlos, without further ado, you can take on the screen and you can take your time now. Sorry, Carlos, you are still muted.
There we go. I promise I'm not technically challenged.
Of course not.
So thank you, Setilu, and thank you, Mtarenla, for inviting me. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. I am joining you from California, and it is 6:30 in the morning here. So this is my commitment to you. Thank you for the honor of having me. And it's my commitment to, of course, Lean and Six Sigma. So where I've been a practitioner for almost 30 years. And I started out as a product manager for a healthcare company. And I took my product basically from being in the red to a $3 billion a year company at that time. And the only reason was because my senior VP was able to bring in some ladies and a gentleman from a small company called Deloitte and Touche. And I kid when I say they're a small company. They're a very large consultancy firm, and they taught me Lean Six Sigma. They started showing me these funny maps, and what's that? Value stream map. And then they started talking about Six Sigma, and I thought they were saying sick Sigma. And, so that's how I learned. And we reorganized the department 3 times in 1 year. And so I got to learn very quickly the PDCA cycle, right? Plan, do, check, act. And, the rest is history, as they say. I have been a master black belt now for about 10, 15 years, and have been in a variety of industries, food, hospitality. If you like Louis Vuitton products, I leaned out the Louis Vuitton line at both locations here. That's actually made in California. So they are a worldwide sales organization out of France, but the product is made here, and excellent, excellent technology. In Bumblebee Tuna, Red Vines Candy, Victoria's Secret Lotion. I do leadership classes for the Marines. So I've been very, very fortunate to really be involved. But today, I want to thank you for joining me here today, speaking of the Marines. And we're going to talk about Tiger teams and how they can be a valuable asset for any business or organization. And in today's fast-paced and rapidly changing business landscape, organizations need to be able to quickly and effectively respond to any emerging threats, opportunities, of course, and challenges. And that's where Tiger teams come in. Tiger teams are specialized. They're cross-functional, and they're composed of highly skilled individuals who can quickly and rapidly respond to these complex problems and then achieve specific results, whatever the scope of work is. And it works really well with all 3 of the processes that we use. So if I don't know if you're using ICOV, the Six Sigma ICOV method, which is identify what the issue is, right? Then characterize, so it means affinity diagrams, and categorize things into sameness, right? So we start seeing patterns, and Six Sigma is very much about seeing patterns, and then optimize what those characteristics are saying so that we're able to then not only group, but create a laser focused approach in order to solve that problem. But before we do that, of course, going back to root cause analysis, the V stands for validate that what we're seeing is actually true. So that's the ICOV method. And of course, we all know the DMAIC method: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. But this also takes a look at what we call the RDMAIC method. So that's recognize, first of all, that something is wrong. And so originally the Tiger teams were set up in order to take a look at potential threats to the military installation bases, and then they spread out from there. So recognize that something is wrong or could be wrong. There you go. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And then standardize our approach to the problem solving. And finally, because of so much digital technology, the Internet of Things and so forth, the final one would be integrate that into the system. I just finished a project working on a $4 billion public utility company where we had to integrate SAP, IQGeo, and Maximo. And so we had to get them all to speak together with each other in order to make it work. By the way, with regards to digital technology, congratulations to Agilent in Singapore out there in Southeast Asia, who is a winner of the World Economic Conference lighthouse companies. And so there's only 140 companies worldwide that are recognized as lighthouse companies. And congratulations to Agilent in Singapore. All right, good. So let's get started. And as I mentioned, the Tiger teams are specialized and highly skilled, cross-functional. They can rapidly respond, and rapidly in quotations, right? Because part of the military is also the Delta forces that came up with the phrase, slow is good, good is fast. And so we want to be able to take the appropriate amount of time and not rush it so that we're able to do proper problem solving. And because again, it's changing and the circumstances are what we call emergent. And I'll be talking about emergent changes and also emergent cultures in a little bit in the presentation. As I mentioned, Tiger teams were formed in the military back in the 1960s. And then later, it was adopted by the private sector, including some semi-governmental organizations such as National Aeronautics and Space Administration, excuse me. Today, they're used all throughout. And again, with my variety of experience, I have been in financial institutions with Bancomer out of Mexico, to picking crops out in the field, to satellites, submarines, you name it. This Tiger team and Six Sigma approach works, folks, in any industry. It's really amazing to me. And it used to bother me about how uninformed a prospective client was, because I don't know if you ever get the question, well, do you have experience in my field? And to me, that is ludicrous, right? Because if you have a solid toolbox and good solid experience, you're going to be able to translate the techniques into any field. And so now that's part of the education that we must give our clients to help them understand that when we follow a solid process, we get solid results. And so that's very important. So if that bothers you too, just now you can relax. I give you permission to forgive that person for asking you a silly question and just smile when that question comes up and say, a lot of people have asked me the same thing too. However, and then come back with an answer, isn't it true that when we follow a solid process, we get solid results? Well, Lean Six Sigma is that way. Or again, if you're just practicing Lean or Six Sigma, Six Sigma is that way. And so again, you want to create some dialogue so that you get the account, right? Or internally so that you don't create what's called, negative conflict. Because again, collaboration is so important and teamwork is so important to not only Tiger teams, but again, to making sure that the project succeeds. And the two things, okay, folks, write this down, the two things that, two factors that make a project fail are, number one, scope creep. So doing too much, right? So you want to break that down into phases, perhaps. And then the toll gates, right? You all know the DMAIC toll gates. So again, make yourself toll gates that if we don't reach a certain milestone, we don't go on. We make sure that we finish that first. So scope creep is the first factor that causes a project to fail. And then the second thing would be poor team dynamics. Whoa, there it is right there. You see? So the team has got to gel. The team has got to get along. All right. But not too much. All right. We don't want a rubber stamp team where, if you like Disney, right? Chip and Dale, right? The two little chipmunks. Oh, no, after you. Oh, no, please, after you, right? They're so agreeable. All right. If you have a team that is just so agreeable and everything looks great, no. All right. No, it will not work. It's like a marriage, right? Woe to that person that says, oh, we've been married 40 years and we've never had a fight in our life. Something's wrong there. All right. because again, conflict is the way to make things change and improve things, right? Plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, act. If it ain't broken, break it. So we want to make sure, again, that we satisfy those two things. So again, what are those two factors? Scope creep or team dynamics. So Tiger Team enhances team dynamics. And it's a rapid response on emerging threats. There's that word again. Cross-functional, so people with different skill sets from different departments. We don't want silos of excellence where, okay, I've done my work, throw it over the wall. Now it's, your problem, right? So in Lean, we call that the push system, right? We want to implement a pull system. We want to create a collaborative system where everybody is on the same page, not throwing it over the wall. Agility is very important these days. And so the Kaizen events, either 1 day, 3 day, or 5 day focused events to fix something are going to create some immediate change and give us the parameters that we need to improve. So tomorrow, I start a 7-day SMED project, single minute exchange of die, working on a beast of a thermoform machine that is currently taking 4 hours for the changeover of the molds from one product to the next. And I'm actually working with a gentleman from India. He's from Delhi. And in fact, he just got back. And so I'll be working with him as my my champion on that. By the way, back in college, I had this one summer job. I sold books door to door, and my 2 roommates were from India. Again, one gentleman from Delhi and the other one from Mumbai. It was Bombay at that time. And Sam Rastamji and Pradeep Abdul Bartable. So still remember their names, great guys. And without not being insulting, because I'm really sincere here, I got to learn to love aloo gobi. Oh my goodness. All right. All right. So agility. Agility means that the boat has got to change. And in today's fast-paced environment, we are either leading edge, dull edge, or trailing edge, right? The world is really moving hyper fast and we're hyper connected. So we have to make sure that we're able to, again, switch hats and switch boats midstream if we have to. And this is going to lead to improved problem solving and to innovation. Very important, because, we can say that we want to innovate, but if we're still working like cobblers, it's not going to work. And I'm not, again, being insulting to anyone, but let me just say that for a company that I'm working with right now, with the second name being technology in their title, instead of using a punch press to punch through materials, they're using a handheld punch press with a 5-pound hammer. All right, come on, let's get into some technology. Instead of using scissors, let's use lasers. All right, lasers cut materials. I'm at a place right now where they're cutting fabric with a laser, cutting fabric with a water jet. That's what I'm talking about, you see, because you have better quality that way, and you also have better output. We talked about enhanced collaboration. And again, the 2 things that mess up a project, right? Team dynamics. And we want to make sure that teamwork works. So let's take a look at an example of a non-manufacturing Tiger team. And this happens to be a Tiger team for a law firm. So in a law firm, we might want to take a look at specialization. And the Tiger team would be composed of maybe not just attorneys, right? Because if we want to improve an engineering project, we don't just put engineers on there. We want to improve a sales project. We don't just put sales. We want to improve an accounting project. We don't just put accountants there, right? Because again, everybody has blinders on. They physically cannot see. All right. There have been some studies done, and we physically cannot see. Okay, physiological, we need people from other areas to take a look to make sure that, you know, we're not looking and finding our wallets or our keys at home, right? Somebody that's outside of us, usually a relative, the wife, the spouse, right? The husband, right there, you know, was past them 5 or 6 times. But again, you know, because of our fight or flight, we actually get tunnel vision. All right. That's what happens during that time. And so again, in crisis at our organizations, we can't see sometimes. So we need other eyes in order to help us see. So in a law firm, you might need clerks, you might need paralegals, you might also bring in some trusted advisor clients that maybe would take a look at things differently. Technology would be an issue because, again, you know, the CRM is very important. The billing process is very important. We want to make sure that the different technological systems are speaking with each other. And that leads us to communication. And not only communication with regards to paths and flows, you know, but also with regards to effective communication skills, presentation skills, and the ability to convey maybe complex issues or ideas, but make it simple so that people are able to understand. And we call that the KISS method, KISS. Keep it short and simple. All right. If you're going to use this as an example, please use this one. It's very insulting when people use the other vernacular. Keep it short, keep it simple, stupid. All right. People do not want to be referred to as stupid. So please stop using that. It's very insulting. So keep it short and simple is a nicer way and ingratiates you to the group that you're speaking with, because again, you want to create that collaborative environment. And then of course, project management. Make sure that the team has strong project management skills. If you have not received your project management certification through the center, that's an opportunity for you, or, you know, through PMI. So the PMI Institute has the PMI body of knowledge. And again, it's a standardized way to approach it. And standardization, whether it's the PMBOK or Lean Six Sigma, neutralizes the field because you have the devil or the pitchfork out there mentality. So if people love Anand, right? I saw that Anand is joining us here today. Whatever Anand says, oh, great idea, because they love Anand and they have a favorable halo effect, you know, so that's the angel effect for Anand. But if they don't like Anand and Anand rubs them the wrong way, and Anand is a little bit of a show off and kind of a braggy kind of guy, you know, any idea that Anand comes up with, pitchfork, right? So that's the devil effect. So again, having a standardized process to follow then neutralizes all the personal stuff that can get in the way. And so that's very important in project management. Ethics and professionalism, the Tiger team might take a look at if we're adhering. There's a lot of regulatory and compliance, but more importantly, is the law firm following, right, and being ethical about their decisions, or are they just wanting to make money at any cost? You see, and so it's very important. Confidentiality breaches might be one of the risks that we take a look at. And of course, making sure that we have proper firewalls, make sure that we maintain client-attorney relationships to the T, and have all the documentation to make sure and that nobody talks outside of the office on anything. Because guys, let me tell you, back when I was in college, I was an undergrad at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. I know, Malibu, right? So we took surfing for our PE class. and horseback riding or inline skating. I mean, you know, very California. But one of the things that was really substantial was that I took a marketing class, and we actually were sponsored by one of the large ad agencies at the time. And the ad agency that I was at represented Pepsi as one of their major clients. And right above us, we were J. Walter Thompson, I believe, was the agency. And right above us was BBDO, who handled the Coke account. And somebody was talking about the campaign in the elevator. And wouldn't you know it, somebody from that agency was in the elevator, and they stole the idea and they came up with whatever the idea was at the time. The good news on that is that Pepsi came up with one of the award-winning campaigns at the time, and that was the Pepsi Generation. So if you remember that campaign, okay, that wasn't me, but that happened, you know, during my internship over there. All right, so making sure that we maintain confidentiality, make sure there's no conflict of interest, because of ethics, going back to ethics, miscommunication. And so again, we want to create that dialogue, and it's not that you didn't understand what I said, right? Because again, in the communication style, whose responsibility is it to make sure that the receiver is understanding? Me, right? So the question becomes, you know what? I apologize. Apparently, I didn't explain myself correctly. All right. So in your Six Sigma projects, when there's a little bit of conflict and it happens to be a communication conflict, check the ego, put the ego aside and say, hey, look, you know what? I misspoke. Can we start over again? Boy, I tell you what, all of a sudden you have a fresh view and everybody's more open to participate. So again, why? Team dynamics, remember, is one of the top two things that mess up a project. A partner succession plan for a law firm, very, very important. One of the partners dies, gets in the car accident, becomes disabled, or gets divorced, for example. Then what happens? You know, if the spouse wants half, here in California, we have community states, so 50%, you know, goes to the spouse. And, you know, we don't want the spouse involved in the business. And so having proper buy-sell agreements becomes incumbent. And these would be things that the Tiger teams would take a look at. Okay, so there's some real life examples of what a Tiger team might do. And now we'll go back to the theoretical. So Tiger teams, good characteristics are they must have clear goals and objectives. And of course, in Six Sigma, we use the team charter. So what's the business case for this project? From the business case, we take a look at a profit. We take a look at reducing costs. We take a look at reducing risk in the case of the law firm, right? Growth, market share, for example. Those will be things that we take a look at the business case. And problem statement. Problem statement is a conglomeration of the characteristics that we are seeing, otherwise called symptoms. And it's okay that you start off with symptoms all over the place. So the value becomes, and now characterizing those, what are the A's, what are the B's, what are the C's, and what is critical to quality, what is critical to value, right? Making sure that we know what the customer needs are. So we have business case, we have problem statement, then we have parameters from where to where, right? So why? Because scope creep. Remember, scope creep is the #1 factor that can mess up a project. Then after that, of course, goals and objectives, and goals and objectives with nice milestones so that we're not chewing more or biting more than we can chew. So clear goals and objectives, you got to write it down. Have that action plan, have that to-do list. And a good action plan has what? What's wrong? How are we going to fix it? So we call that the countermeasure, right? Who's going to do it? and by when, right? If you don't have those four, then it's not a good action plan. And so we got to make sure that we have a good action plan. We have good skilled and experienced team members. Don't put anybody that's new on the team, really. You know, you want to help them out, but you might use them maybe as a sounding board, but offline. You also want to not have a negative Ned or a negative Nancy on the team. It just pulls the team down. However, you do want to use negative Ned or negative Nancy for your contingency plan. So when you're ready to, plan your contingency plans, you go to them and you go, hey, Ned, we were thinking about doing this. And of course, what do you think their comments are going to be? Oh, that'll never work because of this. And that'll never work. And you guys never think of that. And blah, 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 blah. And you're sitting there. Yeah, you're taking notes. Those are all your countermeasures. So that's the proper way to use a negative Ned or negative Nancy. All right. But don't have them in there as part of the team. They would just pull you down. So have that cross-functional expertise. Make sure that you have operators involved. So the people that are actually doing the work. Don't just have management in there, right? Because the management knows how to manage the work, but they're not doing the work. So they don't know the nuances of, putting that the general ledger entry or doing the accounts payable or doing the experiment or what have not. So we want to make sure that we include the people that are actually doing the work as part of the team. And they're empowered to make decisions. And if they're empowered, do not give contradictory statements. So I'll give you a perfect example. Again, my gentleman from Delhi that I'll be working with tomorrow. Hey, during our 5S process of the machine, we're going to be overhauling it. We're going to be painting it. We're going to be striping the area and so forth. Why don't you get a 5-gallon container of epoxy and let's paint immediately around it so that that area stands out from the rest of the floor. So I got a call from him on Friday. We got all the supplies, but we didn't get the epoxy paint because, I just don't think that that's correct. It won't match the rest of our floor. And if that's the case, we'll just get a contractor to come in and redo the entire floor. I didn't say anything, but I started sending out information about contradictory comments and contradictory ideas in a team and how really they can torpedo that team. You see what I'm saying? So on one hand, management is saying, yes, we want change, but if you want to experiment, we're not going to allow you to experiment just because you got to stay within our colors. You got to, and that's just, people won't believe you. They won't believe that you want change if you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. So you just got to do it, right? Just let people do it. Give them the resources, even if you don't like it. And who knows, you may like it. So make sure you empower the people and let them do whatever they're going to do. Make sure that the people are adaptive, they're agile, get what's called change agents in there. Going back to negative Ned, negative Nancy, you don't want a bunch of negative folks. You want change agents that are people that, storm the castle, take no prisoners, let's make a change. If it ain't broken, let's break it. Do y'all remember Lee Iacocca, the chairman of Chrysler Corporation? Well, he coined a phrase that said, if both of us say yes, one of us is not needed. So we don't want a bunch of yes men and yes women around us. We want people to challenge the status quo. And you'll see that later on in the presentation. So results oriented, very important. So we just talked about our gentleman that's giving mixed messages. And probably he's very traditional from his culture, but we also have some very traditional folks here in the United States who manage by command and control. In the military, you have command and control, but that works only when it's time bounded or when there's no other choices and The downside is that people learn to follow orders, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, regardless of whether or not they agree with you. And it does not allow for feedback, which can be a problem, can't it? So we want engagement. We want to engage employees because we need creativity. We need divergent ideas. You see, Steve Jobs said, we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do. And then that smart person will help you drive change and drive divergent thinking so that you're able to solve that problem in a different way. Who says it always has to be 1 and 1 equals 2? 1 and 1 can equal 3. What do you mean 1 and 1 can equal 3? Well, that's synergy. You have an idea. I have an idea. If we butt heads, we're going to have 2 ideas. However, if we dialogue, if we follow a process, if we brainstorm and all of a sudden, right, now we have a third idea that's neither yours nor mine, but whose? Ours. So we call that synergy. So that's why we say 1 and 1 equals 3. And it's very important when creativity is needed. You need that psychological buy-in. And our case study today will show you how important that is, because others are needed to make the change work. The downside is that it takes a little bit longer, and that's okay, right? That's okay. So take whatever time it takes, and wherever you're at in the process, that's exactly where you want to be. However, a Gallup Harvard study, I heard that Harvard is one of our partners here, so I will use a Gallup Harvard study about engagement, shows that organizations that have more fully engaged employees outperform their competition by 147%. Now, what's that worth? 147%. Okay, so take a look at Gallup Harvard study on engagement. So that's what the leader's responsibilities are. At the unit level, we want to share meaning. Remember, instead of the silos, we want that synergy. We want that exchange of idea. In Six Sigma, we call this the operational definition, don't we? Which, after we define it, everybody says, okay, does that mean the same to you? Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, operational definition. So that's that shared meaning. Self-design. So that's emergent. We keep changing, we keep improving, PDCA, PDCA. And by the way, PDCA is not just a constant circle. As we improve the process, that gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And if you take a look at a histogram, right, we want that tight histogram, and that is called a very tight process where the tolerance is very tight, right? We don't want kurtosis, right? Very flat and very wide, because that tells us that there's a lot of variation in the process. And so everybody says variation is the enemy. Variation is the enemy. Okay, again, variation is the enemy. We want to make sure and tighten that process as we go along. So I don't know who's joining us here. Must be a mouse or something, but I hope you're having a good time. And we got to make this fun, right? We got to make this fun. So we learn from experience and we learn from each other. And the newest person in the room, I'm going to talk the other side of my mouth now, knows something the rest of us don't know. So you're not going to include them in the team, but again, you might do interviews. You might do focus groups. You might do on the floor. Gemba is where the action happens. Doesn't have to be the production floor, but wherever the work is done, that's Gemba. And you might want to do videos or observations, or Go down there and work arm in arm with the folks. Don't just be an observer, get in there and do the work also so that you can experience, oh my God, that's a heavy tool. Wow, how many times a day do you pick this up, right? If it's a 5-pound tool and they pick it up 10 times, holy cow, right? That's 50 pounds a day you've lifted. 100 times, that's 500 pounds you've lifted. No wonder the shoulders hurt. So that's an ergonomic issue. So get out there and learn from experience. And then we talked about the systemic view and then using a common approach like Lean Six Sigma, ICOV, DMAIC, RDMAIC-C, whatever you're using, because all these create dialogue, conversation, discussion. And remember, your morning huddles. Your morning huddles are very important every day. Can we do it once a week? Every day. So part of the morning huddle is maybe exercises to make sure that people are warmed up. Studies have shown less work injuries by warming up properly, right? And also it creates dialogue and open communication. Hey guys, yesterday we had an issue, quality issue. Who did it? Doesn't matter who did it. It happened. Let's put it on the Pareto. So now we track it, right? Put it on the Ishikawa. Now we understand it's a materials issue. It's a methodology issue. It's a process issue. It's a procedure issue. It's a metrics issue. And if you're not measuring metrics every day, then don't be surprised at the end of the quarter when you're not hitting your mark. All right? Hourly leads to daily. Daily leads to weekly. Weekly leads to quarterly. And if you really want to be world-class, don't just manage quarterly and don't just have a roadmap for the year. Have multi-year roadmaps. I had the opportunity of working for a German conglomerate. I reported to the hemispheric master black belt in Mexico. Wow. Back in the year 2000, they showed me a 20-year roadmap. So from 2000 to 2003, you're going to be here, Carlos. 204 to 206, you're going to be doing this. 214 to 216 here, and 218 to what? 20-year roadmap. They had EBITDA, they had CapEx, they had direct labor. It was amazing. And you know what? We not only hit it, we exceeded it. And for graduation, this was for a middle management leadership Lean Six Sigma combination. For graduation, their CEO from Germany called to wish the group congratulations and also to encourage them to experiment. And one of the guys took them to heart and said, well, Hans, just how much can we experiment and can we make a mistake? 25,000, 50,000? And Hans came back and he says, well, that's a very good question. I wouldn't mind it, 100,000. Let's just set it at 100,000. If you make a $100,000 mistake, no harm, no foul. I was like, whoa. You see? So again, and the Germans, very precise. So again, to have a 20-year plan, but for you guys in Asia, that's probably not that long, especially when we're talking about some of the Asian countries could have dynasty plans, right? 1,000-year plans. And so, holy cow. I did run into another organization, a Romanian organization that owns wineries here in California. They have a 400-year roadmap, how to pass it on. It's family owned. So their great grandkids, they already have that mapped out, how that's going to happen. It's crazy. All right. So I'm hoping you like my stories because I'm trying to relate real life to the theory. And so studies have found that when we do that, it's not distracting. People can actually then kind of own it because they could see the value and see the use. So hopefully you like my stories. So the next thing is doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and making sure that during change that the practices that accelerate learning for the organization and the teams are those that we just talked about: shared meaning, systemic view, learning from experience, self-design. But from the leader point of view, the leaders need to focus on the organization. developing skills, making sure that we have a skills matrix, optimizing talent, making sure that we have the right fit for the right person. And I like to use the predictive index, and predictive index does everything automatically. It follows the Jungian, 4 quadrants like DISC. The problem with DISC, even though I like DISC and Myers-Briggs they don't do things automatically like the predictive index does. So if you haven't taken a look at that, take a look at that, or ask me about it. Developing capabilities goes along with making sure that we have the right people in the right seats, having the ideal profile with the attributes, the behavioral attributes, and the cognitive attributes that you want for the individual. One group that I work with was having difficulty hiring engineers because they had 3 tests that the engineers had to pass before being even interviewed. And that is they had to go through a CAD or SolidWorks. You tell me you know CAD, you know SolidWorks, here, design this. Whoa, you tell me you know how to do this, do it, right? And so people were dropping out because they weren't putting up with that. And they asked me, do you think we should drop that? I said, no. I said, because that is the trait, the attribute, the cognitive skill that you need in order to take your organization to the next level. So you'll find the person that is a good fit. And sure enough, we did find folks, and it was just amazing. Defining the new employment relationship these days means understanding that remote work works. We've got Setilu, remote, working somewhere. Imterenla, working somewhere. Carlos, working out in halfway 12 hours away. And it works, you see? And so going back to developing capabilities, the behavioral aspect with that then needs to be that person, we make sure that they are a self-starter, that they're able to work independently, and that they don't need the social interaction, or that we can give them social interaction in a different way. Maybe we do have the morning huddle online. Maybe we have an afternoon coffee, or maybe we have a Friday night virtual cocktail hour. You see, so that satisfies that connection that they need, because if we don't do that, they're not going to succeed working remotely. And so that's only going to be enhanced as we move on to the Internet of Things, where we're not really requiring folks to be involved in the process. Robotics, cobots, those are different things that are defining the employment relationship as well. More contracting. So more folks are deciding to hire contractors like myself to come in rather than hire a full-time person. And so we got to make sense of all this. And so we call that sense making. And that goes back with emergent. It's constantly changing. It's never set in stone. We can either put up with it, or we can design it. We can be the leaders in designing the new workplace. Okay, so everybody on board so far? Learning lots of notes? Good. So let's talk about the types of Tiger teams. And the types of Tiger teams that we're looking at are cybersecurity, product development, crisis management, quality, and innovation teams. And as we take a look at each of these, the cybersecurity teams would be responsible for risk assessment, conducting assessment of the infrastructure, the systems, the data storage, data transfer. Is it on the cloud? Is it a secure cloud location? Do they have good security? Do they have good firewalls? Can we recognize when there's an initial breach and maybe have a secondary redundant server somewhere where we can avoid a ransomware? Proactive threat hunting, so trying to secret shop, so to speak, and present the organization with different types of potential breaches and see if the system catches it. Incident response planning, to downtime, to speed. By the way, I still see, which is ridiculous, I am still seeing organizations that are either running computer upgrades or are running the payroll during business hours. And all of a sudden, the system just goes, boom, just gets bogged down. Please don't do that. Do that on a Saturday where you don't have a full slate of folks. And well, that means you got to pay overtime. Yeah, that means you got to pay overtime. So pay overtime. But just don't, you're going to save so much time because, again, a minute here, a minute there makes a huge difference. I was at a cosmetics place in the shipping department. We put in some great technology, some scanners, some automatic label printers, RFID, whatever. And when we would scan that label, this is what the system did. Right? The little wheel of doom. And it was a full minute times 20 people. That's 20 minutes each time they scanned. So we called the vendor and they came in within a week or so. And boy, they fixed it right away. So whatever it was, they did. Right? Watch your pennies. The dollars take care of themselves. I worked with a cast parts company. And in the X-ray department, we were X-raying these big parts for the Rolls-Royce jet engine. And so after a couple of weeks, I came back to the team and I said, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And we just need for you guys to read one more X-ray per shift. And there's this one guy, Alvin, I'll never forget his name. He was such a hardhead. Oh my God. He says, that's it. They're paying you the big bucks just to tell us we need one more. I said, Alvin, let's do the math. Okay. How many people do you have on your team normally? Well, we average about 7. I said, so 7. So 7 means one more per person per hour. It means 7 more per hour, correct? He says, yeah. And he was ahead of me. He says, well, I get you're going. He says, that's 49 per shift. I said, yep. I said, and how long does it take to inspect a full part? He says, between 48 and 52 hours. So his light bulb went on. So he says, that means we can get one more part out per shift. I said, that's correct. I said, and how many shifts do you have? 3 shifts per day. I said, so how many parts is that? That's 3. And you guys work 24/7. How many parts is that? We can get 21 more parts out per week just by everybody just reading one more X-ray per hour. I said, yep, exactly. Boom, done. You see? So sometimes keeping it short and simple is the answer to getting more output. All right, very important. And so that's part of the next one, continuous training and education. And it doesn't have to be formal. It could be a coaching session like that with Alvin, or somebody who's maybe not on board so that they can discover, right? You can tell them what to do, but it's not as strong as if they discover. So don't try to be a smart person, a know-it-all. Let them discover. Ask more, tell less. So tomorrow for the kickoff with my setup reduction folks, we're doing the Legos blocks simulation so that they can experience the 4 phases of production output, right? Phase 1 is traditional, non-sequenced, unbalanced batching. Phase 4 is fully balanced with in-process Kanbans. And the trick for the last process is do it slower. We want quality. So usually first phase, we get 0 airplanes out, and the control is 5 minutes for each phase, by the way. And the last group got 60 airplanes out the last phase. There's a couple of weeks ago at a clothing company. And so what they averaged out was about 6 seconds per plane. And I always ask them this, if I asked you at the beginning of the session that I wanted an airplane every 6 seconds, what would you have thought? Well, you're crazy. Well, you guys just proved it. But you see, so we run them through the 4 phases so that they can experience the output, and we call that experiential learning. They discovered. So again, use discovery as a tool for your continuous training and education. And of course, collaboration and communication. You want to create a collaborative environment, not a competitive environment. You want to, even if you're going to be enforcing, let's say, safety or something that's environmental, you don't want to go in like the police. You want to be educators and educate people why it's important to wear proper PPEs, why it's important not to dump that toxic chemical down the drain, why it's important, you see? And so again, everybody learns together. With product development teams, we want to take a look at being user-centered and getting feedback from the customer. We want rapid prototyping, and one of the ways to rapid prototype would be to value stream map and understand what the common processes are, and also to use a RACI chart, right? Responsibility, accountability, consulting, and input. And so then another tool that's very important to rapid prototyping would be a SIPOC. Suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers. Sometimes customers can be suppliers, sometimes suppliers can be customers. So who's supplying data, who's supplying information, who is receiving it, right? Who's giving it back? So you have that closed loop feedback, so to speak. So SIPOC would be a very good Six Sigma tool to use for product development, as is some of the feedback loops, RACI, for example. We want to make sure that the Tiger team uses methodology that's flexible and agile and is able to move in and out, able to have multiple designs, not just one design, but again, the many hands grabbing school of sales, the many hands grabbing school of prototyping really works. Make sure that it's cross-functional, from the simplest nut and bolt to the most complex online computers. You want to have everybody there because you want the nuts and bolts guy to say, hey, how come you're doing it that way? Hey, how come, why don't you have this? Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Wow, all right, you see? And then of course, continuous improvement, always about continuous improvement. We never rest on our laurels. Crisis management team should be proactive in their planning. And there on the right, we take a look at the crisis management pyramid that takes a look at analyzing, taking a snapshot of what's going on, interviewing or identifying potential crisis. Could be an earthquake. What do you do in an earthquake for safety? What do you do in an earthquake for business continuation? Do you have a separate warehouse? Supply chain issues? Management issues, somebody gets hurt, labor issues, people get stuck and can't go home. So you're going to have a phone tree. You're going to have a way to communicate to their loved ones, a status. You're going to have to communicate who was present today, including vendors, right? Floods, electrical storms, hailstorms. I mean, we're getting all those here in California. It's been crazy. We're getting so much flooding. Lakes are emerging that were dry for hundreds of years. And now we're having to deal with farmlands in the Central Valley being totally flooded. So our almonds and grapes and some of our other dairy is going to be very expensive for us this year. So proactive planning, rapid response, getting it back in order, making sure that we have that effective communication, as I mentioned, making sure it's a collaborative approach, making sure that you have trained personnel to conduct that collaborative approach. So we call those floor wardens or company wardens that would have hard hats in the office as well, vests, maybe have, they know first aid, are able to evacuate people. We have mustering areas where we meet and we count noses to make sure that everybody is there. If we work night shift, make sure that we have reflective tape to show people the exits. paint all exterior doors yellow so that everybody knows anything yellow, that's the way to exit. It's not a closet. And of course, a continuous improvement. Quality improvement starts with continuous improvement because, again, if we don't have quality, everything else gets lost. And remember, in the cost of poor quality, prevention is the foundation. All right, so we want to make sure that we poka yoka the process. So that means mistake proofing, mistake avoidance. We do not allow the operator to make a mistake. The product can only be oriented into the jig a certain way. If you have a piece of paper that's 3-hole punched, right? If you're not being careful, you can actually put it in upside down and the notebook will accept it. So maybe we have an electric eye that says, nope, that's wrong. We have a notch in the upper right-hand corner. Maybe we take a look at that the odd pages should be facing up. So we have the operator take a look, or we have an electric eye taking a look at it's not an even numbered page, which would show that that's a back page. See what I'm saying? If it's upside down, then that's not correct. So prevention is the first thing. So if we can't have prevention, then the next level is inspection. And inspection, we want to make sure that we practice AQL, acceptable quantity lot. So we use statistics in order to really validate that we are getting good output. A lot of folks insist on 100% inspection, but guess what? I'm wearing glasses. I'm nearsighted. She's wearing glasses. She's farsighted. He's not wearing his glasses. He can't even see. And you got him inspecting? How about this? I'm inspecting, but I don't have adequate light. How the heck am I going to inspect properly if I don't have adequate light? How about this? At one place, they were inspecting medical devices, and I found out by asking one of the ladies, how do you know that that's in spec? And she says, well, if it measures 2 of these hash marks, then I know it's in spec. Bing, 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 bing. The flag went right up. And I'm going, okay, I get it. What are those hash marks called? And she looked at me and she started crying. I don't know. And I'm like, oh my God, she can't even read a ruler. How in the world could she be an inspector and not read a ruler? So we went around and we found out that 65% of the people could not even read a ruler. So we had to teach them, right? An eighth, 2/8 is a quarter, 2/4 is a half, 2/2 is an inch. This is how you convert to decimal. This is how you convert decimals to metric. It's like, oh my God. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. We had visual guides out on the floor of a ruler, this is, and they're inspecting medical devices. Oh my God. But again, this is something that you don't know unless you go out on the floor and you work on arm in arm. So that's very important to improving quality. So what's the first one? What's the foundation? Prevention, number 1. What's the second one? Inspection, right? And don't over inspect. If you have to have a final inspection, have a final inspection, but again, don't over inspect. In the lean system, inspection is considered a waste. So the next one we hopefully can catch through final inspection, and that's in-house damage, right? Or in-house defects for whatever reason. Got inspected on the line, worked okay, but final inspection, ding, 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 we caught it. Internal, right? Because we never want to let it get out to the public. External. Oof. All right. Not a good thing. going back to that company with the aircraft parts, one of our aircraft parts was, engine parts for the 747. And we did have that Southwest Airlines jet that threw a bearing or something that came in and, blew a hole in the side of the plane and killed a person. And we were all praying, I hope that's not our part. I hope that's not our part, right? Because, lawsuits, bad reputation, people lose confidence in your company. And also, by the way, when you're making decisions, not so much there, but here in the United States, we say, follow the 60-60 rule. Before you say anything, especially if you're in management, before you do anything, especially if you're in management, follow the 60-60 rule. So take 60 seconds to think about why you do not want the film crew from 60 Minutes rolling up your driveway. Because when the film crew from 60 Minutes rolls up your driveway, it's an expose. It's not a good thing, right? So just stay compliant, follow the rules, don't take chances, especially as it relates to people's safety. You don't want anybody dying on your shift. So that's part of quality too, right? Keeping our people healthy. So make sure that the speak with data. So data is very important. Everything drives the data that you have. Collect data, the 5 key performance indicators on a hourly or daily basis, which are safety, quality, delivery, inventory, productivity. So we call that the cross, right? The safety, and then QDIP, quality, delivery, inventory, productivity. Every day, those are measured at Toyota. Those should be measured at your place of business, and then keep the data. And then understand what the data is saying. So if you have control charts, understand that 2 points is a run. This might be on the quiz, right? 2 data points is a run. What do? Just watch that. 3 data points is a shift. So either react or amplify on 3 data points on your control chart. If it's profit and you had 3 data points going up, amplify it. If it's scrap and you had 3 data points going up, you got to react, right? Because you got to turn that back around before it goes to 4 data points, because 4 data points is a trend. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a stronger trend. And the closer to 9 that trend gets, the harder that it's going to be to turn that trend around. So again, 2 data points, 3 data points, 4 data points or more. 2 data points is a run. 3 data points is a shift. 4 data points or more is a trend. Okay, speak with data. Collaborate. Again, we talked about that. And then use Lean Six Sigma methodology. ICOV, identify, characterize, optimize, validate. RDMAXI, recognize, define, measure, analyze, improve, control. Or RDMAXI, recognize, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, standardize, and integrate. Innovation themes, creativity is number 1. And we got a couple minutes here before we get to Q&A. So I'll be wrapping it up with a final case study. So thank you for staying with us, and hopefully it's been valuable for you. Cross-functional, of course, is the theme, including the people that do the work. And in this case, the customer. So we call this early customer innovation, or early customer innovation. So rather than, here's what we invented, isn't this a great product? Get the folks involved. What do you need? How are you going to use it? What features are you looking at? Great study on that with the University of Utah that was not placing a lot of their graduates. And so they decided to turn that paradigm around. And so rather than graduate students and then try to place them in industry, they went out to industry and they said, what kind of degrees are you looking for? Well, we're looking for engineering, we're looking for nursing, we're looking for, and then they changed their curriculum to match what the community wanted, and their placement rate went from like 53% to 98%. Novel concept. Ask the customer what they want. Okay. So there's your customer-centric approach, and then take risk, calculated risk, of course. So you don't want to throw caution to the wind and just have a bomb like classic bombs in the past where going back to Pepsi, the Pepsi generation. One of the bad things that came out of that was the translation, and the translation in Chinese came back to brings your ancestors back from the dead. Okay. Innovation was, hey, we're going to translate the campaign different languages, but boy, if you're going to insult the right the audience, then it's not going to sell. In Mexico, Chevrolet tried to sell the Nova way back, I think it was like the 60s, 70s. And this car was a very good seller in the United States, but in Mexico, it tanked. And the reason it tanked in Mexico was that nobody bothered to find out that Nova in Spanish means it doesn't run. Who wants a car that doesn't run? So again, do your homework. So best practices for team, clearly defined goals and objectives, that cross-functionality we've been talking about, empower the team, establish clear communication channels, which include sponsor and champion to help them out, and encourage collaboration, and then measure and report results. So my team, next 7 days, will report out to management every day what they learned and what they did every day. And then they will have a probably 30 minutes, maybe even an hour final report out to management on the last day on the project. So we keep them abreast so that they know every day what we're doing. So the final case study is Google's Project Aristotle. And this was a study of team effectiveness that identified some of the key factors that we have discussed during this presentation. And it found that psychological safety, dependability, structure and clarity, meaning and impact were the most important factors to teams. And these can be applied to Tiger teams. And there you see the levels. And so psychological safety means that people feel safe taking risks. And again, how much can I spend and still, be within $100,000? Okay, great. Boom. Feel safe taking risk, cost 50 grand. I'm within scope. You see, people want to make sure that people don't criticize them for being vulnerable. So opening up, sharing personal information without chastising creates a safe environment. If you're going to be on my team, got to be dependable. You're going to be there at 6:30 and you tell me you're going to be there at 5:30. A man or a lady is only as good as her or his word. So you tell me something, I'm going to depend on you that you're going to pull through. Structure and clarity is so important. And so effective team dynamics, having team structure, a leader, maybe 2 leaders, a co-leader, a scribe, right? A sergeant of arms to be the enforcer. Maybe rotate those responsibilities. Have a facilitator so that the leader maybe can observe and not always have to be the leader. So structure and clarity with goals and objectives, follow that team charter, and meaning is very important. And a lot of times just the meaning of making the world a better place is enough of a meaning. The tangible rewards are good, but again, to know that we made significant change and we're significant in the world, that's a lot to folks as far as making impact. All right, good. Outcomes of the team were significant for Google, and they provided valuable insights. And so they provide these insights to how we can create Tiger teams that are not only going to be effective with outcomes, but are also going to be effective with the second factor that really ruins a project. Remember, poor team dynamics. And so making sure that we have that psychological safety overall is very important. And the team demonstrated the importance of that in creating high-performance team. And since then, it's been used by a lot of other organizations. And so the steps, again, is that you want to feel safe and accepted for who you are, where you're from, how you speak, gender identity these days, whatever it is, that you're accepted, not chastised. Second, that you're able to exchange information freely and that there's no such thing as a dumb idea. Everything is up for grabs. And then that you feel safe in using your skills. And if you don't quite have the skills, like you don't know Excel pivot tables, that nobody's going to chastise you, and that you feel comfortable saying, hey, I'm not the best at pivot tables. Who on the team knows pivot tables? But you know what? Don't wait until that point in time. At the beginning, as you set up the teams, make sure that you set up somebody that knows pivot tables so that that becomes your pivot table SME, subject matter expert, right? And so feeling safe to speak up is very important, and that is going to create some positive conflict. In conclusion, Tiger teams are specialized, they're cross-functional, they offer many benefits, including agility, flexibility, and by following these best practices, we're able to accelerate organizational change. In order to change, we need these things. We need vision, and that's a shared understanding. So that's that AHA, operational definition. We need the right skills. We need the resources, time, money, meeting. We need to plan. We need to engage the team, because as you see there, if we don't have vision, we get confusion. If we don't have the skills, we get anxiety. If we don't give them the resources, we get frustration. If we don't have the right plan, then we get false starts. And if we don't have engagement, no results. So we want to make sure to manage the change model effectively. Lastly, from today, think about what are 3 to 5 skills that you're going to take away and you're going to immediately implement, medium-term implement, and long-term implement. So immediate, within the next 2 weeks, medium-term, within the next 3 months, and then long-term, within the next 6 months. So that'll give you 3 different reaches, so to speak, goals, because vision without action is just a dream. Action without vision passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. So go out today and change the world. Guys, been a great audience. Hopefully you got a lot out of today's presentation. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I guess we're opening it up for questions now.
Thank you so much, Carlos. It has been a very interactive, very intuitive presentation. We can start with the Q&A now. Is it all right if I take over the screen?
Please.
So everyone in the audience, please feel free to make use of the chat box to leave your questions there. So read it out. Here is a question by Aldin. What strategies can be used to maintain the momentum and energy of a Tiger team over time, especially if the team is working on a long-term or a complex project?
That's a really good question. And remember when I talked about phasing? So dividing the project into smaller bites. By the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. And so we divide it into phases, and each of the phases has toll gates. And as we reach the toll gates, we have celebration. And celebration doesn't have to be something tangible like money or a mug or what have not. It could just be something that's fun to do, like going to a concert or going to a restaurant for dinner, or maybe going on a factory tour or something that's inner sanctum that is very few people get the privilege of doing. So when people get that inner sanctum feeling, maybe it's even just having lunch with the CEO, who's generally not available. And by the way, if you're not, CEO is not available, they need to be more available. So things like that keep the momentum going. Also, team spirit, having shirts, having caps, having mugs that delineate you as that team are going to keep that momentum going.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Aldin. A question by Matt asks about Agile certification. Please have a look on our website. My colleague will share the link with you. You can have the more information about it there. Let us take another question by Rina here. Can you provide an example of a time when a Tiger team was unsuccessful in driving organizational change?
Yes. And that comes out like a sore thumb. And the fortunate thing about it is that it has only happened twice in my 25 to 30 years. And that is when the owner, or in the second case, the executive, are very command and control type of individuals, and they did not listen to the Tiger team, and they micromanaged the Tiger team, and they just basically threw a grenade in and blew the Tiger team up. Again, going back to Steve Jobs, if you're going to be forming a Tiger team, you're not going to be forming a Tiger team to tell them what to do. You're going to be bringing in specialized, skilled people for them to tell you what to do. And in the case of the business owner, it was a $65 million a year packaging company. I got so mad at the individual that I said, hey, so-and-so, can I ask you something? Yeah, sure. What? When you go to the doctor, do you tell the doctor what to do? As a matter of fact, I do. It's like, oh my God. So, if you have that type of individual that you're working with, you need a strong champion to help that Tiger team succeed, or you need to move that person somewhere else, which was the case of another company, which is a military aerospace company, where the guy was brilliant, had like hundreds of patents to his name. And we found out that actually the human resources manager had a very good relationship with him. So we asked her to get him out of the building, which she did. And she put him up down the street in his own think tank where he could be less disruptive. And whenever he was going to come over, he had to ask permission and he had to be escorted when he came on site, because he said stupid things. In this case, I'm going to say stupid because they were very hurtful, stupid things that were hurting his morale. Luckily, they ended up selling the company to a conglomerate. And of course, the culture changed, but individuals can be very disruptive.
All right. So just an information that we won't be taking questions through unmuting. We will be taking questions only on chat. So please do lower your hands for those who have raised your hand. You can leave your questions on the chat box. This is a question by Nathan. With ChatGPT 4.0 and many AI engines for data analysis with discrete prediction modes coming up, proactive data analysis makes job faster. What is your call on that?
I use ChatGPT. It's a great tool. A lot of folks are using that. I would double check that data. Don't just take it blindly, because I have found that there are some mistakes. All right. So you don't want to put something out there that is incorrect. The second thing is go through the data as an exercise that's a learning exercise. So if they give you something that's really fast, go through it yourself so that the numbers that you see, you are validating yourself using your particular instruments. So whether it's handwritten or whether it's Excel or whether it's Minitab, because now you're going to be reinforcing what the AI says. But I have found some mistakes, so don't just follow it blindly.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. Here's a question by Anand Prakash. He's also one of our IQ team member. What is the significance of emotional intelligence in improving psychological safety?
It's huge. And I usually run my executive teams through that, and also through change management, and also through the Legos blocks. It doesn't matter what industry, medical group with 40,000 clients. I ran their executives through it so that they could understand. But it's very important because of the destructive behaviors of the two previous excuse me, executives that I mentioned, the owner and the COO, can really hurt the organization if we don't understand the emotional quotient or emotional intelligence of the executives, and we coach them through. So in the event of the second company, we actually have a second team of 3 consultants helping the CEO, the VP, and the COO with improving their emotional intelligence. Another thing that helps out is establishing a steering committee after we have gone through the setting the executive team right, so to speak. So again, the emotional intelligence, the change management, inventory, some maybe predictive index as well. And then the steering committee then goes through a faster version of it, but then they're the ones that are actually carrying out the work with the support now of an emotionally balanced team. Make sense?
I hope that made sense.
Okay. By the way, one more. I'm sorry
Yes,
to
please
interrupt.
go ahead.
One more thing on the
No problem.
gentleman with the AI. If you find a mistake, go back in and teach the AI. So I was doing that the other day with a translation, a Spanish translation, and the word that the AI gave me was not correct. And so I went back in and I said, you know, the word that you gave me means this. The word that you should have used should have been this. And of course, it came back and it says, thank you very much, you know, for correcting me.
That makes sense, yes. Okay, I hope Nathan got that. Here's another question by Subrata. Is it necessary that a Tiger team is co-located?
No. So it could be remote as long as people do their part. So let's go back to the project with the public utility company. So some of the work we did on site, but a lot of the work we did remotely. And the senior consultant is in the UK. The champion is in Houston, Texas. The executive master black belt is in Florida. I'm the master black belt in California. The other consultant was in North Carolina. And then the administrative folks were in different places throughout the United States. And so what we did in order to create a common platform for value stream mapping and for brainstorming and for process failure mode and effect analysis, we actually used Miro board as the standard. And so people were able to get on from all over the world and participate. So you have not used Miro, it's a great tool.
Great. Thank you so much. We still have some more questions here, but we have less time, some few minutes left. Carlos, do you want to choose any of the questions here, or do you want me to just read out anyone and we'll make
Uh,
that as the last question for today?
Yeah, go ahead and read out, and that's the last question. And then any
Okay.
questions
So,
that we don't get back to
mhm.
today, email them to me, and then I'll contact the folks.
Yes, definitely. You can do that. We have also left Carlos' LinkedIn account on the chat box. You can also reach out there or through
Wonderful.
his email directly. So this question comes from Saurabh Sahu. How management can address issues related to disparity in wages for doing same work, thus leading to psychological safety?
Yeah, that's a real tough one. And so, and especially abroad in different countries, not only have issues with parity, but also have issues with regards to wage structures. So in South America, for example, depending on the size of your company, entry level, there's a range for entry level employees. If the company is a different size, right, but the government controls the wages. So not much you can do with that. But if you're in a place where you can do a salary analysis, by all means, do a salary analysis, find out what your competitors are paying in your immediate area or in your province, let's say, and then put it on a histogram or on a curve. And so you got your lower control limit, you got your average, you got your higher control limit to 3 standard deviations. And so now you've got your range, right? And then if you want to just bring it in to 1 standard deviation, then that's, the most common wage that you're going to be paying for that salary. And if you're not paying that salary, then you need to bump up the folks that are underneath that 1 standard deviation. And the folks that were hired, well, they're just new, and I worked my way, it took me 20 years. They got to deal with that. That's always going to happen. There's always going to be, cost of living, wages gets increased. So that's always going to happen. And so if you're proactive with communication and help people understand, if they squawk, the ones that have been there a long time, maybe you want to put them in a management position or like a certified position where maybe they make a little bit more, but you're going to have to be asking a little bit more of them. Trainer, for example, if they've been there a long time, they might be retiring. So you want to download all that information. Otherwise, it's going to walk out your front door, right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Carlos. Do you have anything more to say on that?
Well, again, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank you all for joining me today. And it's been an honor. And hopefully I will have the opportunity to travel to your neck of the woods. That's always been on my bucket list. So any of you guys that want to bring me out, hey, I'm open to traveling out to your neck of the woods.
Yes, thank you so much again, Carlos. It has been a pleasure having you on the panel, and I hope we can reach out to you again for more of these sessions in the future. And yes, very good luck to you on your bucket list as well. So it has been such insightful presentation. Thank you so much. We will move
My
on to our
pleasure.
quiz round now. Um, so just moving ahead here to all the participants, thank you for staying till this time. I'll just begin with the polls here. So you have 1 minute to answer all the questions. There will be five questions here. So I'm just sending out the first question in a few seconds. We are facing a little bit of a technical error here. Please bear with us and give me a few minutes to start up the polls.
There we go.
And information for those whose questions could not be answered, you can join our LinkedIn group to have more discussions on that, or you can also directly reach out to our speaker as well and connect for the questions that have been left unanswered. So do feel free to join our group as well. We have shared the link on the chat box.
Well, you guys are hardcore. How many people did we have this morning, Tetalu?
We had around 70 plus, almost
Hey,
80.
very
Yes.
good. Awesome. Thank you all for your support.
Yeah. We will have 5 questions out. You have 1 minute to answer all of it. Please let me know if you are able to see the poll questions on your screen. We have launched the first questions. All right. I hope you are able to answer the questions. To take the chance to enter your answers, you might be the lucky one to win this $400 worth exam certification. An information that we will be announcing the winners of today's quiz tomorrow at tomorrow's session. So do join us again tomorrow to know if you are the lucky one winning this quiz.
$99.9997.
We will be having this quiz round on each session of this summit. So you can participate on all the quiz round in order to, if you would like to have more exam vouchers, complimentary exam vouchers from GSDC. So you can attend all the sessions if you want to have to share with your network as well, if they would like to attend the session and learn more and also participate in the quiz. We will be publishing the recording of this session on our YouTube channel. So do reach out to us on LinkedIn if you want the link to our YouTube channel, and we'll be happy to connect with you.
You are a great facilitator, Setilu.
Thank you so much.
No, thank
So
you.
we have the last question up now. Do try your luck. It's the last question. We will end the session after this. A reminder again about the GSDC certifications. We have the Lean Six Sigma, Green Belt, Yellow Belt, and Black Belt certifications. You can have a look on our website. The link will be shared on the chat box. We are also sending out some feedback forms for the session. I do request each and everyone to please leave your valuable feedback for us. It's really helpful for us. So it will just take around 1 minute of your time. So after the session, you can click on the feedback form and you can leave your feedbacks there. Thank you so much. All right, so we are done with the quiz now. Thank you so much for the participation. Thank you from the IQA team as well. And just to keep remember that we will have the quiz again tomorrow as well, so do join. Tomorrow we will be listening to another amazing speaker, that is Jonas, and he will be speaking on the topic of data privacy in the era of new and emerging technologies. So we will have some quiz up on that topic, and you can participate there as well if you want opportunity to win the certificate. Do join us at the same time. The link will be the same. You can join through the same link. Carlos, if you also want to join, if you have the time to join, then you can also join through the same link. And again, thank you so much to all the participants. Thank you so much, Carlos. We will be seeing you again.
And thank you to Interenla for inviting me.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Bye, Carlos. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you to all. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening wherever you are. Do feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn if you require any assistance, any information.
Thank you.
You can also have a look at Indian Quality Association website. It will be shared on the link on the chat box. You can have a look on their website and see what about their services and learn more about their company. All right. I hope everyone got the link. We are ending the session now. Thank you again so much. Have a wonderful time ahead, everyone.
Namaste.
Bye, Carlos.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you.